It began with moments so ordinary they barely registered as concern. A sentence left unfinished, a familiar object misplaced, a pause that lingered just long enough to feel unfamiliar. In a life filled with deadlines, commitments, and constant movement, these things felt explainable. Kelly brushed them aside with a smile. Mark laughed, lightly teasing himself. The family kept moving forward, because stopping to question small disruptions felt unnecessary and unsettling. But over time, those moments began to repeat. Not dramatically, but persistently. Evenings grew quieter. Energy faded earlier in the day. Conversations carried more pauses than laughter. The house didn't feel broken, just suspended, as though something invisible had shifted the balance without asking permission. When humor no longer closes the gap. There came a point when humor stopped filling the spaces. Jokes no longer softened the silence, and reassurance sounded thinner each time it was offered. Kelly noticed it, in the way Mark stared at his plate without eating much, in the way rest came too easily, and wakefulness felt heavier than it should. These weren't emergencies, but they were signals. Concern replaced dismissal, not all at once, but gently. Like a hand placed on the shoulder, the family began to sense that what they were facing could not be explained away by stress alone. Fear did not arrive dramatically. It settled slowly, weaving itself into ordinary routines. Choosing to look, instead of turning away. Seeking answers was not a declaration of panic, but an act of care. Appointments were scheduled. Questions were asked with restraint. Everyone hoped for reassurance, yet prepared quietly for uncertainty. Conversations with professionals were calm, careful, and deliberate. There were no immediate conclusions, only observations that required attention and follow-up. Kelly listened closely, absorbing information without letting it overwhelm her. Mark remained steady, engaged, choosing presence over speculation. Life continued, but with a subtle shift in posture, as though everyone had leaned forward, alert to what might come next. The day the air felt different. Eventually, clarity arrived, not in the form of certainty, but seriousness. The conversations changed tone. Language became more measured. The room felt smaller, quieter. What was shared did not come with guarantees or timelines, only the understanding that life would need to slow down and adjust. Kelly felt the weight of that moment not as panic, but as gravity. The future didn't disappear, but it blurred. Plans became tentative. Time, once assumed, became something to be handled carefully. The family understood that whatever lay ahead would require patience, presence, and endurance. Moving forward, without a map. There was no dramatic shift into crisis mode. Instead, the family reorganized quietly. Schedules changed, priorities narrowed. Rest became intentional. Care became a daily practice, rather than a reaction. The children adjusted instinctively, offering help without being asked, stepping into moments of responsibility with quiet maturity. Love took on a practical shape: rides, meals, reminders, companionship. Fear was acknowledged, but not allowed to dominate. The goal was not to be brave, but to remain steady, learning the rhythm of waiting. Waiting became its own discipline. Days were marked not by outcomes, but by small check-ins and careful monitoring. Progress, when it appeared, was subtle. Some mornings felt lighter. Others carried heaviness without explanation. The family learned to live without rushing hope or surrendering to worry. Kelly focused on what could be controlled. Questions asked, details remembered, energy protected. The uncertainty was exhausting, but it was navigable through routine, attention, and mutual support. living privately in a public world. Navigating this period under public scrutiny added a layer of complexity. Curiosity surfaced quickly. Speculation followed. Images were analyzed, expressions interpreted, silence filled with assumptions. Kelly felt the strain of protecting something deeply personal while existing in a world that rarely waits for permission. Statements were measured, gratitude expressed, boundaries drawn carefully. Still, the attention existed. Learning when to speak and when to remain quiet became an act of self-preservation. When the body demands rest, there are moments when endurance quietly reaches its limit. Kelly experienced one such moment not through drama, but through depletion. After days of vigilance, responsibility, and emotional restraint, her body asked for rest in the only way it could. Support arrived immediately and without judgment. It was a reminder that care cannot move in only one direction. Strength, she realized, also means allowing others to step in. Letting the circle hold. After that moment, something softened. Kelly allowed herself to lean more fully on family and trusted friends. Responsibilities were shared. Decisions were discussed rather than carried alone. The family found a new balance, one that acknowledged limits without surrendering resolve. This shift did not weaken them. It stabilized them. Care became sustainable rather than urgent, signs of forward motion. Gradually, stability returned. Energy improved in small, noticeable ways. Focus sharpened. The distance between good days and difficult ones narrowed. The family learned to recognize these shifts without rushing them. Gratitude replaced impatience. Humor returned, tentative at first, then more confidently. Not as denial, but as resilience reclaiming space. Returning with intention. Kelly's return to her professional routine was careful and thoughtful. There was no desire for spectacle or explanation. When she spoke, she did so with honesty and restraint, focusing on perspective rather than details. She spoke about fragility, about how quickly life can ask us to pause, and about the importance of paying attention before moments become urgent. The response was grounded and empathetic, shaped by shared experience rather than curiosity. A changed relationship with time. What this period altered most was the family's relationship with time. Moments were no longer rushed. Conversations were no longer postponed. Presence became a priority rather than a luxury. The experience did not eliminate fear, but it reframed it. Attention replaced assumption. Care replaced momentum. Home reimagined. When life settled into a new rhythm, home felt familiar, but deeper. Mornings carried intention. Evenings carried gratitude. Ordinary routines felt earned rather than automatic. What had been learned could not be unlearned. The house held a quieter wisdom now, one shaped by awareness and care. No neat conclusions. There was no clear ending to the experience, no moment that signaled full resolution. Instead, there was continuity, shaped by perspective. The family did not return to who they were before, and they didn't try to. What emerged was not closure, but understanding. What endured? What remained was connection. Quiet, resilient, steady connection. The kind that does not announce itself or demand recognition. Love proved flexible, capable of adapting without breaking. Through uncertainty, it expanded rather than fractured. A life carried forward. This was not a story of triumph or defeat. It was a story of attention, patience, and shared strength. A reminder that life does not always change loudly. Sometimes it asks us to listen more closely, move more carefully, and love more deliberately. And in doing so, It shows us not what we can control, but what we can hold.